Inspiration Bhanumathi, distinguished guest of the delegates of the 7th International Women's Conference, I address you here today in my personal capacity so that I can speak very undiplomatically. Let us firstly play an awareness game. Please finish my sentence. The dynasty of ethical leaders where walking the talk matters hails from Mahatma Gandhi to Martin Luther King to Nelson Mandela to... Oh, wow, okay, you're awake, so you can take the next dose. You know, I think we must all coin this phrase. And as teachers of art of living, as devotees of art of living, we must take this as a mantra throughout the world. The dynasty of ethical leaders where walking the talk matters hails from Mahatma Gandhi to Martin Luther King to Nelson Mandela to His Holiness Sri Ravi Shankar. Dear delegates, kindly permit me to share 2 points about my professional space. Firstly, I am an ambassador of the art of living. You know, I use a very simple technique. In whatever meeting I go to, I will disrupt that meeting if they don't allow me to talk about art of living. So I worked for 14 years in the finance section and under 2 very able ministers. And they resolved that before any meeting starts, they will say, you know, please allow Shirish to speak about art of living. Because anyway, he is going to speak about art of living during the agenda items. So they'll give me 3 to 5 minutes, no matter what importance this meeting had. I will speak about art of living, and they will say, is the space okay? Can we continue? I'll say, yes, now continue with the agenda. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I give 100% in whatever I do. But I allow His Holiness Sri Ravi Shankar to do his job as well. And you know, from the time I wake up in the morning, I come home for lunch, I come home in the evening, I go to a banquet, I come home at night. I'm always like a child. I'm rushing home to say to the waiter, you know, I did this job well, but the impact and the result I'm going to get is 5 to 10 times fold. Because Guruji has just been working. I read this article yesterday, and you know what? Someone spoke about this. I discussed it, and the Guru did the rest. Now we have a project going. This is what's going to happen. So I have never failed to deliver 5 to 10 times more than any result you give me to deliver in my professional space. But of course, Guruji is doing the job. Convener of this session, please let me note the following 7 points about ethical leadership. The women's agenda is not to be championed by women alone. Men must be involved at all levels of promoting the women's agenda. The women's agenda must be driven by us collectively. Point 2, the women's agenda must be central to the higher purpose of any organization. It cannot be another objective or goal that allow us to achieve the higher purpose of our organizational purpose. It has to be part of the wording of our organizational purpose, the very reason why we exist. 3, setting quotas to empower women do not work. Setting quotas alone will result in an imbalance in other important measures. We need large-scale programs to change the fabric of our society to display a non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and development character. In the design of our social, economical, political tapestry, we need to ensure that women play a significant role at all levels. Quotas can be used in the short term as a band-aid. For every woman US dollar millionaire created by quotas and affirmative action, we could be disempowering 100,000 women from our rural communities. All leaders must know that the seat given to them is a temporal position. Mostly leaders in civil society organizations, like the art of living. We must place people in leadership positions for only one term, with a maximum of 5 years. It is an ethical leadership responsibility to implement a program to cultivate the bench strength of leadership in our organization to take over as soon as they are appointed, so that they can leave the organization within 5 years with a strong potential of successes. You know, there's only one time in my life that I disagreed with Guruji. Well, I'm saying this sincerely. I was the first trustee in Art of Living. And when it came to appoint new trustees, Guruji said, you know, Shirish, you should stay so that there is a handover, there is some continuity. And I said, no, Guruji, I'm a student of Nelson Mandela. One term, please. You should, the day you get appointed, you need to select people to say, these will be my future leaders, and you prepare your exit. If you cannot do that, you're not a leader, and you have no ethics. Retaining institutional memory of ethical leaders is vital to the long-term existence of any organization. We must place them in strategic positions so that we can tap into the collective memory of all our leaders. So, you know, you can make them patrons. You got to honor leaders. People who have come in, done a fantastic role. You should not squeeze them and spit them out. You should grow them. So you can place them in strategic positions to ensure that the experience they garnered during their period as leaders is actually well used. The difference between an ethical leader and a manager in an organization is that an ethical leader puts her or his money where his mouth is or her mouth is. A manager puts somebody else's money where her mouth or his mouth is. So in most instances, when I get into a project, my first question is, what are you putting on the table? So within minutes, you should be able to get rid of all the talkers. Bhanu Didi, our inspiration, please let me note 5 important focus areas for ethical leaders to prioritize. Somebody will note this for her. We must celebrate World Yoga Day on 21 June. This is our collective responsibility. It's the first UN declaration put through by Narendra Modi. It was the fastest approved UN declaration, and it was also the UN declaration that got the highest number of votes in such a short period. So we must celebrate this worldwide. I think if I was going to take an outcome of this, I will create a loop of 3 significant events in June, July. The second is Nelson Mandela Day, which is 18th July. And that day is about 67 minutes of service for the 67 years that Nelson Mandela gave as service, as seva to his community. So you have 21 June, 18 July. And I think celebrating his life displays what an ethical leader, at least in our lifetimes, stood for. We must also know more about the International Organization of Migration. I will encourage every person in Art of Living to go and have some contact with the International Organization of Migration and work on the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. That is 30th July. This topic includes trafficking of domestic workers, and many of us could be in violation of international standards against human rights. It also includes the trafficking of women. You know, I met one Art of Living person in the Middle East, and he said, no, Ashram sent some boy to go and work in his house. So after satsang, I was talking to this young boy, and this young boy said to me, I just want my passport back from this guy. I want to go back to India. I want to go back to the ashram. That is human trafficking. The person is held as a hostage. So when I say this, that many of us could be involved, we could be. And this is a very, very important day. So World's celebration against human trafficking. In this space, just recently, I experienced one person who had come, got recruited over the internet, And this organization does such fantastic work. They will give you legal representation, put you in a house shelter, fight your legal case, and so forth. So we should all know more about International Organization of Migration. We must continue to honor women who lost life, loved ones, and limbs in the struggle to promote non-racialism, non-sexism, and democracy. Men always receive awards for their role in national and international campaigns. However, it is the women who are providing the backbone to support men in their achievements. We must discuss ways of stopping young people, and in particular young women, from joining radical groups that propagate violence in the name of religion. I explained my own experience and Guruji answered it, but I watched on TV so many times, you know, young parents coming out saying we lost our child to go and fight for a violent cause. And this is really hurtful. So we must do whatever we can. And the only way we can do that is that we have to take the teachings of His Holiness Sri Ravi Shankar to every corner of this globe to make this world a better place for all. Dear distinguished guest, to be an ethical leader, you must know your intentions when you do anything. You have to be introspective. For example, I always ask myself, why am I in Art of Living? If I don't have a true answer to that, I will not go to any Art of Living function. I must know, why am I here? So, you know, there's an auntie of mine who is suffering with Alzheimer's. And she always says to me, Rueda and I will greet her, and she will say to me, you know, Shirish, I have Alzheimer's, but I remember you. You are Shirish, yeah? I say, yes. She'll say, and Shirish, do you remember what I always tell you? I say, yes. She will say, Shirish, behind every successful man is a woman. But in your case, Rueda walks in front of you. And she'll ask me, well, where is Rueda? And I will say, but you were just talking to Rueda. She said, oh, you know, I have Alzheimer's. But you remember, I tell you one thing. I will never forget that. What do I always tell you? Behind every successful man is a woman. And in your case, Rueda walks in front of you. So in a higher state of Alzheimer's, she keeps reminding me not to forget this. Her name is Hira Babi. She's very sick. I will ask all of you all to send her some blessings. Let us check our awareness once more. So I was putting this to Rueda and I was saying, this is not fresh enough. So she says, no, you don't have the guts to say it in this conference. I said, I will say it. But I want something more fresh. So I want to ask you, in Art of Living, where does Guruji place men and women? Are men and women equal? Are women above men? Are men above women? What would your answer be? Where? Equal. Now I want to ask you one more question. Can you think of any other organization in the world where men and women are as equal as in Art of Living? No. So women, I congratulate you. You have built a most powerful organization where men and women are equal. And to Banu Didi, our inspiration, we should all thank her for flying her flag of the women's agenda so high within Art of Living. In conclusion, I would like to say that every man should place one brick annually to build the wall of the project for promoting the agenda of women. I promise to place my brick annually on the wall to build the agenda for women. Thank you very much.